Ntima was a young elephant who had been captured in the wild and taken to a zoo that specialised in what it called exotic animals. Arriving at the zoo, Ntima noticed that most of the other creatures had either been born in captivity or more than happy to be there. They enjoyed the lack of predators and the excellent room service. This was particularly true of the birds, whose species had long since been domesticated. Trained to be reliant on humans, they had become used to living in a human way, and many used their human name. It was ironic that these representatives of the natural world had never known the natural world. They were safe, human-friendly representations of the natural world. Ntima had known or seen many of these species out in the wild, so expected some familiarity. Fortunately, there was none. Yes, they were of the same species, but not of the same culture. They looked on Ntima as being somewhat strange, wild and uncouth. Even other elephants looked on her as being less than them, a little crude, unsophisticated. Ntima felt this, but thought, whose definition of sophistication were they using? She also detected a sense of fear in the other animals. Initially, she wasn't sure why. However, she was soon able to determine that this fear came from their concern over human appreciation. Would her wild behaviour threaten their relationship with humans? In the early days of her time there, Ntima appeared clumsy and uncoordinated as she adjusted to a new way of behaving as a zoo elephant. Her world had shrunk enormously, and the rules had changed. Her nature now had to be nurtured in a very structured, human-centred way. Having tried hard to engage with other animals, Ntima was relieved to hear of a movement amongst them that was concerned with the treatment and the respect for all animals. They referred to themselves as the BAME movement, B-A-M-E. Birds, amphibians, mammals, everyone. It was originally BAM, B-A-M, because the birds, the driving faction behind this movement, categorized reptiles as amphibians. The reptiles complained. Not all of them live in and out of the water, so somewhat lazily, everyone was added as a catch-all. This would also serve to counter any complaints from the insects and the fish. The organisation's aim was to fight for equality by planning actions that would encourage humans to treat them with greater empathy. However, this also meant policing the animal population to ensure that they did nothing to alienate the humans, such as appearing too wild, or as Ntima saw it, being yourself. There were a number of smaller organisations supposedly working for freedom, but more concerned with human appreciation. Their main policing force was called the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Creatures with People. They claimed to be fighting for freedom, but were essentially concerned with being appreciated by people. Then there was the Black Panthers. Now they appeared more radical, not afraid to embrace more violent strategies, but shared the same fundamental belief that freedom equaled being appreciated by people. Equality, like world peace or an end to hunger, is a good rallying call, and there were lots of creatures ready to make rousing and often angry speeches. Unfortunately, there was little substance behind the rhetoric. The radical sounds echoed loud at meetings, drowning the less than superficial understanding. Ntima couldn't quite understand why you would strive for equality in a zoo. Zoos are human constructs designed for human entertainment and to satisfy the human environmental conscience. They're not built for any animal's purpose. Regardless of how equal we may believe that we are still locked in a zoo. Animals are of secondary concern to the zoo. Commercial viability is more important. Does anyone care which animals a zoo contains? and zoos could easily become unfashionable, politically undesirable, too expensive, or even unnecessary, as international travel and the internet increasingly sate the human thirst for viewing the exotic. Live animals in zoos would be surplus to requirements. Releasing them into the wild would not be an option. As for many animals, the wild would be as alien as it is to humans.